Hi guys, Rich Hughes Photography, back with another Lightroom Photoshop tutorial. Um, what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to give you some real world examples, just some practical examples of how you can use Lightroom in conjunction with Photoshop to come out with the best possible scenario for whatever image it is you are editing. So today we have this shot here. This is just a basic shot of a nice little dining area. I tried to expose for the highlights outside so I can get some detail, and it actually worked out pretty good because I had some off-camera flash, and was able to expose properly with that. Now it is a little underexposed, and I always seem to do that intentionally, as I can always open up shadows and things like that in post. But so what we're going to do is first we're just going to take this photo through my basic editing. I'm going to go ahead and enable the profile corrections, chromatic aberration removal, and I'm going to straighten this image a little bit. And then we're going to go to the top here and start working on the basic panel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my white balance. I have a nice white trim here that I'm going to use for a starting point. I don't ever use that specifically. I just sometimes use it as a frame of reference. And it looks a little too warm for my taste, so maybe cool it down just a little, somewhere in there, and play with the color tint a little bit and see what I come up with. Yeah, I think maybe in that range there. Add a little magenta in there. Okay, so we're going to play with the highlights, bring the highlights down. I'm not necessarily going to go -100 on this. Open up the shadows just a little bit. You see it can work pretty drastically. So we've got that set. I'm going to set my black and white point as usual. Get a little bit of white coming through. Hold down the option key for this and just use it as a mask. Set my black point a little further with the blacks generally than I do with the whites. Okay, so this is definitely going to be, your black point. Okay, add just a touch of presence, clarity, that is, maybe a little bit of vibrance. Got some color going on here. I kind of want that to pop a little bit. And we're going to move on. Might play with the tone curve a little bit here. See what I can't do in the shadows here. Bring it up a little bit. And bring up my darks just a little bit. Alright, so we're going to move on to the hue and saturation panel. Not going to do a whole lot here. I may punch up the reds just a little, and I think I want to bump the yellow just a little on the saturation because the color just seems a little washed on the walls, and they weren't quite that pale. So that looks a little better. Alright, move on down here to the sharpening panel and find a good spot here to kind of reference. Bump up the sharpening on this quite a bit here. I'm going to bump it up to about 75. And I don't want everything in this image to be sharpened. That's just, it's kind of a overkill. So I'm going to use the Option or Alt key, hold that down while I'm applying this mask. So now instead of everything being sharpened, as I move this to the right, everything in white will be sharpened and everything that is in black will not be sharpened. So basically what I'm wanting is just, the edges of things to be sharpened a little bit. So I think that'll work. Lately I've been using the lens correction. I do that first to kind of get, the image where I want it as far as appearance-wise, straightening, etc. So we already did that. I'm not going to do much of anything else here. So from this point, it's basically edited. I like what it's looking like so far, but there's one little detail that is driving me nuts, and that's this cord over here on this little candle light. I don't like it, and generally speaking, when I see cords and things like that in an image in the rooms that I've shot, I generally try to remove them. But here in Lightroom, you only have one tool that can do any kind of removal or healing, and it just doesn't do the job when it comes to something this much. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here and edit this in Photoshop. So just right click on the image and edit in Adobe Photoshop. Take a minute to come up, hopefully not too long. Alright, so now we are here in Photoshop, and I can use better tools to remove things from the image. So in this case, I'm going to use the clone stamp tool. And in order to do this a little more accurately, a little better, I'm going to zoom in on the image a little bit here, maybe even a little further, and just try to take this out. It's a little time consuming at times, but in my opinion, details like this can make the difference in the image. So we're going to go ahead and use this. Now with the clone stamp tool, it's a little tricky. It takes a little time to get used to using this. You basically have this little circle here. It's almost like the brush tool. And whatever you brush over, you'll be, painting, or you can just click in one spot and it will, apply the clone to that point. But in order to get that effect, you have to sample from another area. So in this case, I've got a fairly good sized brush here. I'm going to bring this as close to the edge of that quarter round molding as I can, and I'm going to hit the Option key and choose a target by clicking. Now as I move over, I can kind of line up here and just ever so gently work that out. Now I may have to sample again, and generally speaking you will be sampling a lot while you're using the clone stamp tool. So I'm going to pick another spot here and just kind of eyeball it in there, and the object here is to try to make it look not as obvious, as possible. It's tricky and it takes time and practice, but I think what I'm going to do in this case is actually shrink down to a smaller scale here and just work on the molding first. Take a sample and then put it in place. And okay, so we've got that gone. Now we'll take another sample from up here. Let me see, right about there. And let me see how this works out. I'll just try to paint. It might look a little obvious, so go with a bigger sample. And click and paint. And paint. Oh, no, we're getting into the edge down there, so and such a large sample. We'll shrink it back down a little. Take another sample here. And paint it in there. Take another sample here. Yeah, it looks a little odd. Let me see if I can't fix that. Looks a little better. I will work on this a little more. But as you can see, you get the idea. You know, sometimes you have to go with a larger brush, sometimes you have to go smaller in order to get the details the way you want them. So in this case, I'm going to move up here and try a little larger sample and try to line it up with the edge there and just sort of take it out. A little smaller, and take another sample over here. Seems a little aggravating, it seems a little time consuming, but it really does make a difference. I mean, people notice things in a photo that they don't even realize that they're noticing. And something like this, even though it doesn't seem all that important, can draw the eye, you know. That's not what I want people looking at in the photo. I want them to look at the room here, not the try that. As you can see, the little X to the right, I don't know if you can see it or not, but that is where it's sampling from while you're trying to paint here. And you got to be careful because you get a little bit of weirdness going on like that. So we're just simply going to take another sample and try to paint some out. Yeah, we got the crown molding going again, because if you can see, it's a little down and to the right there of where it's taking the sample from. So just keep going. You just keep sampling and keep taking different samples from different locations, and until you get it out. I'm going to go a little larger here. Maybe this is going to not be great, but we'll try it anyway. Just to kind of cover up those little abnormalities that seem to be forming in the paint there. And I want to go fix this. There, it looks a little better. But I'm not gonna bother you or bore you with the entirety of this. But I will continue editing, and then I will show you the results. Alright, so now we are pretty much done. I mean, I'm pretty satisfied with the removal of everything. I went ahead and removed the outlet as well, and you know, it's just a preference thing for me. Now, you know, I mean, you can barely even notice that that anything was done. I mean, you would have to zoom in basically one-to-one and, you know, nitpick the detail there. I could go further with this and even apply a slight blur to it, mask it out, and then just paint it in where I want it. But for the purposes of this exercise, I'm not really going to bother with that. So anyway, that is basically it. The only thing left to do is to close this and save it. So you just hit Command W, and it'll ask you, do you want to save the changes? Yes, you do. Save the changes, and then when you go back to Lightroom, you see the new image, and there's your change. Everything has been removed. You can no longer see the plug, the cord, little annoying things. There's the before, there's the after, and if I hit the Y, let me go to this image. This is without the cord. Without the removal of the cord, but this way you can see the before and afters on the image. Hit Control Tab to make that a little bigger, but you can see it's not huge, but it is the details that matter. So that is that. So that is how you take an image, edit it in Lightroom and bring it back. Edit it in Photoshop and bring it back into Lightroom. Alright guys, thanks for checking out the video. I'm going to try to do at least one of these a week. And don't forget to subscribe and like the video. It helps me out tremendously. I appreciate it. Alright, we'll see you next time.